Imagine you walk into your favorite sandwich shop. You order the usual club sandwich, and the guy behind the counter says, "Great choice, that'll be $5." You pay, you eat, you leave happy. You come back the next day, order the exact same sandwich, same ingredients, same bread, and the guy says, "Awesome, that'll be $12.50." You'd think he was joking, right? You would ask to see the manager. You might even call the police, because that feels less like a transaction and more like a robbery. But when this exact same scenario happens with your internet bill, you don't call the cops. You just sigh, open your banking app, and pay it. Why have we collectively accepted that the price of the internet is the only utility in our lives that acts like a fluctuating stock market index rather than a stable service? Welcome to the Great Broadband Shakedown. If you are watching this, there is a very high statistical probability that you are currently paying about 40% more for your internet connection than you were 2 years ago, despite the fact that the service you are receiving hasn't improved by a single megabit. In fact, during peak hours, it might have actually gotten worse. You aren't paying for better speed. You are paying for the privilege of not having your digital life severed. This begins with the most deceptive 3 words in the English language: promotional introductory period. When you first signed that contract, you didn't sign up for a service, you signed up for a trap. That low price you fell in love with, that glorious $49.99, was never the real price. In the industry, they call this a teaser rate, but let's call it what it really is: a loss leader designed to get physical hardware into your living room. The ISPs know that the moment you thread that coaxial cable through the wall and set up your Wi-Fi password, the game is effectively over. They have captured you. This leads to the first pillar of why your bill is so high: the inertia tax. They are betting millions of dollars on the fact that when your bill inevitably spikes after 12 months, you won't do anything about it. They are monetizing your boredom and taxing your laziness. But even if you fight back, where will you go? To understand why you have no leverage, look at the map. In a healthy market, if a business gouges you, you walk across the street to a competitor. Competition forces prices down. But with high-speed internet, you don't have a street to cross. You're living on an island. Tens of millions of Americans have access to only one provider offering high-speed broadband. Just one. That isn't a market, that is a kingdom. And in this kingdom, the ISP is the king, and you are the peasant paying tithes. This stems from the last mile problem. While global data travels cheaply on deep-sea cables, getting that data from the city hub to your living room requires digging up streets and hanging wires. It costs billions. Because it's so expensive, cities usually only authorize one cable company to tear up the roads. The result is a local monopoly. If your provider is the only game in town, they don't need to lower prices to keep you. They just need to be slightly better than having zero internet. They aren't competing for your business. They are holding your connectivity hostage. But let's say you accept the monopoly pricing. That is when they hit you with the fee stack. This is where the bill goes from expensive to insulting. The worst offender is the equipment rental fee. Look at your bill. You're likely paying $15 a month for that black plastic modem blinking in your hallway. That doesn't sound like much, maybe the price of a sandwich, but do the math. $15 a month is $180 a year. Over a typical 2-year contract, you're paying $360 to rent a piece of plastic that costs the ISP maybe $40 to buy in bulk. It is a markup that would make a loan shark blush. You can go online right now, buy a better modem for $100 and own it forever. But they default you into the rental because it is essentially free money for them. It is a tax on your lack of technical knowledge. But the rental fee is just the appetizer. The main course of this financial feast is the speed trap. This is where the marketing department really earns its paycheck. When you sign up, the sales rep will almost always push you toward the Gigabit plan, using buzzwords like buffer-free gaming and seamless 4K. They make you feel like if you don't buy the most expensive package, your Netflix will look like a pixelated mess from 2004. It is a compelling pitch, but for 95% of households, it is a complete lie. Let's look at the math, because the math doesn't lie. To stream a movie in 4K resolution, you need a connection speed of about 25 megabits per second. A high-definition Zoom call needs maybe 4 megabits. Online gaming relies on latency, not raw bandwidth. So, if a family of four is streaming different 4K movies simultaneously, you are using a total of 100 megabits. Yet the ISPs are selling you 1,000 megabits for double the price. You are paying for a 10-lane highway, but you are driving a bicycle on it. The rest of that bandwidth sits empty, unused, and wasted. You are paying for a Ferrari to drive in a school zone. Then, to add insult to injury, we have the data cap. Unlike water or electricity, data is not a finite resource. If I download a terabyte, I am not using up the internet so my neighbor can't have any. The infrastructure costs are fixed. Whether the cables are full or empty, they cost the same to maintain. Yet providers impose arbitrary 1.2 terabyte caps to charge massive overage fees. This isn't about network management. Congestion is managed by slowing down speeds, not fees. Data caps exist solely to tax the future. As games get bigger and streaming quality improves, we naturally use more data. The caps ensure your bill keeps climbing even if your habits stay exactly the same. So, is this just the way the world works now? Are we simply doomed to pay a utility bill that rivals a car payment for the rest of our lives? Not necessarily. While the system is rigged against you, there are cracks in the armor. You can fight back, but you have to stop being a passive consumer and start being an active headache for them. The first step is simple financial hygiene. Stop renting. Go online, buy a DOCIS 3.1 modem for $100 and return their plastic box. You just gave yourself a permanent $15 a month raise. It pays for itself in less than 8 months. The second step is psychological. Downgrade your speed. I know, it feels wrong. We are conditioned to always want the best. But drop from that gigabit plan to the 300 or 400 megabit tier. I promise you, unless you are running a server farm or downloading the entire Library of Congress daily, you will not notice the difference. You are paying for a Ferrari to drive in a school zone. Sell the Ferrari, buy the Honda Civic. It gets you to the exact same website at the exact same time. The third step is the most annoying, but effective. The retention game. You have to be willing to walk away. Call them, navigate the hellscape of their automated menu until you get a human. Do not ask for a discount. Tell them you are canceling. This is the magic word. It triggers a specific flowchart on their screen. Regular support reps often can't lower your bill, but retention specialists have access to save offers that are locked away from everyone else. It is a game of chicken. They're betting you won't actually leave. You have to prove them wrong. But while we're on the subject of tech companies charging you a 400% markup on things you think you need, look at the device in your hand right now. You probably spent over $1,000 on that flagship smartphone, maybe $1,200. You assume that price reflects the cutting-edge technology inside, the titanium frame, the super retina display. But what if I told you that the actual bill of materials for that phone, the raw cost of the glass, the silicone, and the battery, is likely less than $400? Where does the other $800 go? In our next video, we are going to tear down the economics of the iPhone to find the Apple tax. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.